Hi everyone, and welcome to a series of videos or one-off video that has yet to be titled. This is a swivelly seat and it keeps turning around and I'm trying to straighten myself up. In this video I'm going to outline a couple of basics of iPhone photography. I say iPhone photography, I mean smartphone photography. I'm using an iPhone, I'm actually filming this on an iPhone. This is an iPhone 11 Plus Max. The one with like 3 lenses on the back of it, and it's massive, and anyone using it's clearly overcompensating for something. A lot of people, a lot of my clients anyway, what they often talk about is they have trouble replicating the pictures that they take from one shot to the next. So anyone who's taken pictures of products or people even, they'll take a picture and they'll notice it's quite warm, and they'll take another picture and they'll notice it's a little colder, just meaning that there's a more kind of reddy orange tone to some and a bluer kind of colder tone to some. I'm showing an example right now in that I've just put up 2 different coloured cards up in the backdrop in the studio, and you'll see how the phone has interpreted them totally differently, and you'll see how the white backdrop looks a little warmer and a little cooler than the other. Anyway, people say this is a real problem. They're trying to keep consistency in their photos, and they just can't get it. So in these couple of videos I'm going to try and show some basics of using an iPhone or smartphone to do that, using just the native inbuilt software and maybe some third-party software also. So let's go straight into it and take an example of a scene just outside the studio. So we've opened up the camera here and you're looking at a scene just out the back window of our studio, and you'll see me messing about with the different lenses the camera has. What I'll do first is I'll tap on the screen, and that'll make the phone make its first decision. It will focus on where I've tapped and it'll decide how bright or how dark that scene needs to be. What we can do, however, is use that little slider on the right hand side with the little sun icon, and when we can slide that up and down to make that scene brighter or darker as we see fit. The phone will often try and make everything nice and bright, which is grand and that's brilliant, but sometimes it's nice to preserve that little bit of shadow, just depending on what you're trying to do. Having all the shadows really bright and the bright bits really bright makes the whole picture really mushy. You lose the contrast and you lose a bit of shape in what you're trying to do. So especially if you're trying to take a picture and make it look a little bit different, make it look a bit more moody, try and keep a bit of the structure to what you're trying to take a picture of. You'll see examples of this in some of our further videos in product photography and using an iPhone or using a smartphone. Also then, if we hold down on that selection, you'll see a little icon pop up at the top. That icon says AEAF lock, so that stands for auto exposure and auto focus lock. So what we've now done is I've tapped on part of the sky. I've told the phone I want to make sure that part of the sky is in focus, and please don't change that. And I also want to make sure that we are exposing this whole picture and preserving the sky. So I don't want you to try and darken or brighten any part of the picture, just let's look at the sky. That's what's important to us. What we're then doing is tapping the little arrow on the left or the top, depending on where you're looking at the screen, if you're holding it in portrait or landscape mode, and you'll see we've got an extra couple of options here. We're worried about exposure at the minute, so we're going to tap the plus minus sign. This is giving us a little bit more control over the exposure. The slidey up and down bit with the sun will give us a little bit of control over how dark or how light or how bright we want the picture to be. Keeping the phone in lock mode will mean that the phone won't try and change focus or brightness of the image should something wander into your frame and change the picture. For instance, someone walks in front of the frame or a 37-year-old places their hand in front of the lens. So hopefully that was helpful. For some people that will be an absolute revelation. For some people they'll have known that since they ever lifted a phone to take a picture. But hopefully everyone got a little bit out of something. I'm going to go into more detail in other videos, but hopefully that's of any use. If there's anything else you'd like me to go into greater detail about, or anything in particular that really frustrates you about it, drop it into the comments and I'll by all means get back to you. Or shut up Facebook. Or I'll by all means Facebook, put me off. Or drop it into a message. If you're watching this on a likey kind of program, hit like. If you're watching it on a subscribey kind of program, hit subscribe. If, I don't know, sacrifice a small animal. I don't know what way people do things now. Don't sacrifice any animals.